Adam, hello. Adam, hello.
Ari, hello. Ariana, hello.
Hello. How are you doing? How was your weekend? What is the weather like there? Are you getting a little bit of a chilly breeze in Chicago yet?
Today it's actually warm. It's like high of 75 today, but we've had the heat on because it's been chilly. It was like hailing earlier.
I thought you meant like
crazy.
Oh, that is crazy. Yeah, I feel. Does Chicago get hail that often? That's like unusual too, isn't it? Yeah,
it was weird as hell.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I thought you meant you had the heat on with 75 being the temperature, and I was like, why? What is wrong with you? But you meant it before.
It is set to the heat is technically on, but it is hotter than the thermostat.
Yeah,
so it just isn't turning on right now.
Yeah,
because it's supposed to drop back down again.
Yeah.
And that's been our weather update. Thanks.
From Adam, your local meteorologist.
Yeah.
We need you to
How's the weather in jolly old?
The weather today was miserable, and so it was Michael's birthday yesterday. I mentioned that we got our dogs. We adopted two little girls. They are not prepared to be in a room while I'm recording a podcast. They need to be drained a bit. They're both one, so they're like still like puppy energy for sure. They are very cute. They're very sweet, but it feels very much like we have like a baby. Like we're both like sleep deprived and like blah blah. So when we were getting ready to leave, we were taking them out, and it was just like raining and windy, and like before we even got in the car to go see Michael's family, because yesterday we saw friends for his birthday and today we went to see his family. I was like so disheveled from being out in the wind and the rain for like 5 minutes that I was like, oh my God. I was like, I'm a wreck. Like it was just like, I wish I had like a good like visual representation of like what I looked like. But I was like, I literally just looked like a drowned rat. So that is the weather here. And great. I feel like in autumn here, like the leaves will be changing. So that's beautiful. But then it'll be like miserable and wet half the time. So I'm like, the autumn is beautiful, but half the time you're it's like not hiding from the rain, like indoors from the rain. So I was like, so that's not the best.
Well, and because all the rain will drop the leaves faster too. So it's not like you can even enjoy them on the trees as much. Yeah.
Well, anyways, there they go. I don't know if you can hear them. They're barking. Michael's trying. Yeah. Michael's trying to corral them.
I hear them a little bit.
Yeah. It's just because everything's new. So like, do you know when, like, I mean, I don't know when you with Friedrich was barking at like every little sound when you guys moved into that apartment, but it's like, you'll be like, what are you hearing? I can't hear whatever you're barking. I have no idea what you're barking at.
Do you know the most annoying thing I think dogs do is when they hear, or do they, like, what is it? Where they do the like, ruh, ruh. And I'm like, what is that supposed to be doing? Like, it's not a warning. It's not like nothing. It's nothing. It's like, hey, you might as well be whispering. It's so
I would take that over manic barking though, just because it's not for sure. It's like, startling. But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah. We'd always say, that's what Khaleesi would do. It'd be like barely, her lips would like barely move.
Oh, you're so scary.
I'm terrified of that little boof dog. This week we read chapter 25 called The Seer Overheard. Did you remember? You knew what this was? What this revealed? No, you didn't?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Adam, tell us then what happens in this chapter.
In this chapter, Harry is summoned to Dumbledore's office and on the way runs into Professor Trelawney, who has overheard something and learns new information that he did not know from Professor Trelawney, confronts Dumbledore about it, but is blindsided by the fact that there is now a Horcrux that has been found. So that's where they head off to take care of.
He's feeling a little conflicted in that little office moment with Dumbledore.
I am going to start this chapter by giving a huge compliment to the writer of this book.
To the writer of
whoever
this book.
It may be. Yeah. The Seer Overheard is the best chapter title so far in this book because it has a double meaning.
Mm-hmm.
So the Seer, it both means Trelawney overheard when she's in the room of requirement someone whooping gleefully. Okay.
Yeah.
Literal overheard.
Yeah, literal overheard.
And there is the second, which is that Snape overheard the Seer in the past when she was giving the infamous prophecy. So I have to say, this is an incredible chapter title.
Great. Brava. It is a really good
More of this and less of the Twitter nonsense would be great. More that, less that. Okay?
More of this, please. Thank you.
So the chapter starts out and Harry and Ginny are officially dating. They are FBO. It is real. They have he is, what's it called? Hard launched her on his Insta.
Hard launched. Hard launched.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No more emojis over the face. Okay, we're just out and proud about it now.
Yeah, she's tagged.
One of the rumors at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry among the girls about Harry that Ginny was asked is that he has a tattoo of a hippogriff on his chest. Okay.
Is it normal for teenage boys to have tattoos at this age in the wizarding world? I was like,
I don't even know who would have started this, obviously, but there is a level of like where we have never truly, we have talked about it on this podcast, obviously, but in the book series, we have not really discussed, do the guys all have like a communal shower or like a shower room, like kind of like a college where there's like a bunch of stalls. You might see like a shirtless guy with a towel, like brushing his teeth. Like, I'm wondering where this started.
We only know the only like actual shower room we ever learn of is the prefect.
Yeah.
Bathroom.
Prefects are the only people who are allowed to bathe in Hogwarts.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was like, so as far as we know, no one else even gets the privilege of bathing.
Yeah. They're not even naked ever. They're just never nudes. Yeah.
I just want to say before we get too far ahead, Joe just couldn't resist adding in that the girls in particular were really interested in Harry and I was like, you cannot help yourself.
Now that he has a girlfriend, now there's a bunch of interest in him.
It's just the whole like, all women do is gossip. Oh, those women. Oh, gossiping. All they care about is the drama. Like, I'm just like, oh my God, Joe. Come on. You did not have to say, you literally could have left it with like, everyone was so interested to know why they were dating.
Mm-hmm.
She just had to add it in. I'm like,
God. So they're at breakfast or whatever. They're at a meal. I think it's breakfast. They're at a meal together and they're laughing about this hippogriff tattoo.
No, aren't they in the common room? Because she's like leaning on his room? I think so. Because she's sitting on the floor. So I don't think in the Great Hall they could.
I love that you remember the most specific details of these scenes.
Well, welcome to like a hyper focus that randomly happens for neurodivergent people.
Floor. Leaning against Harry's legs and reading. Oh, it's because she was reading the Daily Prophet. That's why I thought that was like the morning.
Yes, right. That association makes total sense. Yeah.
So they're in the common room. Huge change of scenery. Please take the Great Hall out of your mind. Yeah. We are in the Gryffindor common room.
Stage left, coming stage right.
And they are discussing all the hippogriff nonsense, whatever. Apparently there's been 3 more Dementor attacks.
Yeah, just
what
like
are we
casually
doing? Can we wrangle the Dementors? Like, what are we doing? Are we on this? Like, as a society?
Adam,
like,
where everyone is like an ore. They should be able to produce a Patronus. I feel like that's like a standard expectation for ores, right?
We should be teaching people how to produce Patronuses. They need to what? Yeah.
Why is that? Yeah, what? Why are they just letting them?
No one should be getting attacked by a Dementor. Period.
No. What?
Ginny makes a joke that she was like, "No, I told them you had a Norwegian Ridgeback tattooed on your chest, obviously, because it's more macho."
Much more.
Ginny's really funny in the books.
This is what people talk about. Book Ginny.
This is really. I'm gonna be really disappointed when we watch this movie.
They're like, "Give me Book Ginny this time around." People keep saying that about the HBO series.
So then, Ginny made the joke. Ginny made the joke about the Norwegian Ridgeback. Then Hermione is like, "What did you tell them Ron had tattooed?" And she was like, "A pygmy puff," but I didn't say where. And then Ron's like butthurt about the joke because Ron can't take a joke about himself. That's the one thing we have learned in this book specifically. He's like,
Adam.
What?
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm pretty sure it's Hungarian horntail and not Norwegian Ridgeback.
Oh my God.
I was like, wait. It's okay, Adam. I read the chapter this week. Adam cliff noted the chapter.
Oh my God. So then she's like, Ron has a gnome tattooed on his asshole. That's what she said. Are there any corrections you want to make to that, Ari?
Pygmy puff.
Okay.
Pygmy puff.
And Ron like gets butthurt about it because he can't handle a joke. He can't take a joke.
Yeah. But Hermione.
I'm just gonna wait every time for you to agree that is what happened in the chat.
No, you got it. It's
that's
good.
Correct.
Hungarian horntail. Wait, no. What was it? Common room.
Ridgeback. Oh, common room.
Hungarian horntail. Pygmy puff.
So then, he's like, I can withdraw my permission of this at any point in time, and she's like, okay, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And she does say that because he's like, I just don't want to see you snogging in public. And she's like, okay, I did like the line. She says you and Lavender were thrashing about like eels. Just really funny.
True though. It was like the awkward teenage, like flailing around. I know.
Hands.
I know.
Arms. God. No one should have to watch people make out in public. Especially
teenagers that just like are not like aware of their surroundings. That's like sometimes I'll remember being a teenager and how we didn't have like spatial awareness, and it just makes me cringe. Like I'm always just like,
yeah. So Harry further along, there's like time jumps in this chapter, by the way. So Ginny's busy with OWL preparation. Yeah. So at one point, Harry is without Ginny. She's like off in the library studying, and he's hanging out in the I believe it's the common room is where he's hanging out. Yeah. And Hermione comes up to him and is like, "We need to talk about the prince." And he's like, "Come off it. I do not want to talk about this with you. You've declared where you stand on the prince. We don't need to keep rehashing this conversation." And she's like, well, I just wanted you to know. Basically, she's like, I figured out who the prince is. And he's like, oh, who is he? And she's like, he?
Excuse me?
Oh, all of a sudden you think the prince is a man. And he's like, well, yeah, his name is Prince.
Prince, yeah.
And then she's like, bam, slams down a picture from the Daily Prophet, from something, from a student paper. Who knows?
Super long ago. Yeah.
And it's Eileen Prince, the head of the Gobstones Club. Woo!
And we were made sure to know, or Joe made sure we knew she wasn't pretty.
She's not pretty. She's famously ugly.
She was not pretty. I'm like, you can describe women in other ways than like pretty and not pretty.
No, not.
Are you for real?
Her.
Are you so for real right now? Describe some of her features.
So she's like, see, this could have been the prince. Hermione, this isn't like a good leg to stand. I don't even know. You just found a girl with the last name Prince?
Yeah. I mean, the issue with... Okay, hold on. I agree with what Harry is saying, that like I would assume it's a prince as well, a man as well, just from Prince. Like, of course. Right. And I don't think that is something weird to assume. Like, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
This isn't the riddle about the doctor, about like, how is the doctor? And then you're like, the doctor was a woman.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. But Joe is doing this to actually have some type of connection with Eileen Prince. So Eileen Prince is like related to who our actual prince is going to be. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's why it's like, it's like, oh, this isn't, it's like, okay, Hermione, sure. But then Hermione is kind of right in a way. Because it's like.
They're both right.
Yeah, they're both right. They are. They're both right about like one part.
Centrism.
There you go. Take notes, people.
Bipartisan.
Yeah.
So, but Harry's like convinced. He's like, I can just tell it's not a girl. I just know this is a man. I can
tell it's a boy. The way he writes, it's a boy.
Mm-hmm. I was very eager to get past this section because I truly don't actually care
about the prince.
I think if there's one thing about the Half-Blood Prince, the book, that I'm just like, okay, I think this is my the every book I have the like, I don't care about this.
Yeah.
I don't care about, I don't remember what it was for the other books, but they're innumerable, okay? I don't care. Yeah. This is my I don't care. I don't think it's like he does really well in this class because of a book that he read, and then we find out the reveal of like who it actually is, and we're supposed to be like, wow, it really changes a lot, and it doesn't. It actually changes nothing.
Do you know what I've never thought about until this moment either, Adam? He goes on and on about Lily to Harry, which, like, of course, because Lily's his mother. But surely, if Lily was at
Snape,
school when I'm about to talk about Snape. If Lily was at school with Snape, which she was, surely he would also have been like the star pupil of potions. Because this book is his book. But yet we never hear Slughorn like mentioning him at all to Harry.
Right. Yeah.
It's so bizarre. Because I'm like, I get the connection with Lily. But then also it would come up that like, oh, and Snape was also a whiz at potions alongside your mother. Like, it just never comes up. I'm like, that's a little convenient.
I think I said that earlier in the book when he first like gets the book, and I was like, it's funny to think about the fact that like he keeps referencing Lily, Slughorn keeps referencing Lily and being like, she was so great at potions, but like never says like, I also taught Snape, who was also really good at potions
at the same time.
Yeah, I had like 2 exemplary potion students. Yeah. I don't know.
It's just convenient things.
She leaves
out.
Anyway, this is my thing. This book, I don't care about the Half-Blood Prince. I don't think it's interesting, and I don't think it changes anything. And I think it's supposed to be like, wow, Harry, you didn't really know the full Snape, so that we can like set up the next book that he really doesn't know Snape. But like, okay,
okay,
okay. So then Harry is still in detentions, by the way, that he got from casting Sectum Sempra
for the rest
on
of the year.
Draco Malfoy. He has to finish like logging those boxes of bad student activity and for the rest of the year. And if he doesn't finish, he may have to continue into the next year. Well, luckily, Snape, guess what? Harry won't fucking be there next year.
He's not coming back, girl.
He's not coming back.
He won't be back.
So, he gets a note from Dumbledore that says, "Meet me in my office immediately." Mm-hmm. And so he runs to, it's like 15 minutes to curfew. So he runs on his way to Dumbledore's office. And on the way, he hears someone exclaim loudly in the corridor. So he finds who it was. He finds Trelawney on the floor, surrounded by sherry bottles.
Yeah.
And she's covered in her shawl. It's like covering her head.
Sprawled in her shawl.
Sprawled in her shawl with sherry bottles. And so he's like, "Are you okay? Like, what happened? Are you okay?" And she's like, "Oh, you can't believe what just happened to me. I can't even. Hello?" And he realizes that they're in the room of requirement corridor. And he's like, "Were you trying to get in the room of requirement?" And she was like, "How do you know about the room of requirement?" And he's like, "Okay.
I didn't even know you knew."
Moving on. What were you trying to get in the room of requirement? She's like, "Well, I was trying to put some of my belongings away.
Nasty and rumors, people starting, nonsense things about me."
And she is like, so she went into the room of requirement, and then she heard a whooping, a gleeful whooping. And he was like, "Who was it?" And she was like, "Well, I asked them to reveal themselves." And he was like, "You didn't use any other method to figure out you're a witch.
Who are you?
Yes.
Show yourself."
So then she the room goes black and she gets thrown out of the room of requirement by an unknown force. And he's like, "Okay. What did it sound like?" And she was like, "Well, it sounded like a guy." And he's like, "Okay." And she was like, "But that's really all I can tell you. That's really all I know."
Oh, it's been such a hard 5 minutes for me.
we should go tell Dumbledore. And she was like, "Dumbledore doesn't want to talk to me anymore. Yeah. She doesn't want me in his office. He's made it very clear."
Why is Trelawney Kristen Wiig's "Don't Make Me Sing" character?
Yes, you bury that. She references, by the way, that he is being oblivious to the catastrophe on the lightning struck tower, by the way. Mm-hmm. And she was like, "And I even talked to that fucking goat about it, and he won't even." Sorry, the centaur, the other seer, and he won't agree that there's a catastrophe coming.
And he found her comical.
Yes, he found her very comical.
And he found me comical. Can you believe?
She's shocked. First of all, she's fully trashed.
She's so the most unself-aware woman. Comical.
Incredibly
unself-aware.
Me?
Can you imagine?
I can't. A handbag.
A handbag.
So then, she's like, okay. It's so bizarre because she's like, "Have I ever told you?" I have to look at this because I don't know how she got into this. She got into telling
my God, no,
the story.
It is so, it's not,
she does not lead into it well. Nowhere.
Yeah.
She just so immediately is like, "Hey, let me tell you this funny story about when I was interviewing for this job." That's basically how it transitions. And it makes no sense.
No, literally. It really does come out of nowhere. I was like, girl, what? How did we get to that? She needs to drop this bomb on Harry now, and this is the best way she can do it.
Perhaps the horse has heard people say that I have Not inherited my great-great-grandmother's gift. Those rumors have been bandied about by the jealous for years. You know what I say to such people, Harry? Would Dumbledore have let me teach at this great school, put so much trust in me all these years, had I not proved myself to him? I well remember my very first interview with Dumbledore, went on Professor Trelawney in throaty tones. So there's no transition. She's just as
No.
Dumbledore wouldn't have hired me if I wasn't a seer. By the way, let me tell you this very specific story about my interview.
Yeah.
Because really, if you think about it, the interview for her, nothing happened. Like, okay, Snape interrupted, but like that's not a big enough moment in a memory that you wouldn't remember the rest of why it was so important for you to like bring it up in this random conversation. That's my only point.
Yeah.
But I understand why we have to do what we have to do to get where we need to go.
She was like, we got to get it. We got to get her to say it.
So she was like, anyway, have I ever told you about when I interviewed? Don't I bring it up in every first class? So she's like, so I was having this interview. I was staying at the Hogshead. This is where we find out, by the way, that the Hogshead Inn has bed bugs. So don't stay at the fucking Hogshead Inn. Don't even go there.
No.
Bed bugs are not a joke.
No, bed bugs are not.
They're one of my biggest fucking fears. I swear to God. When I go to hotels now, I fully do the like. I'm like checking the corners.
Yeah.
So she's like, I was staying at the Hogshead. Dumbledore came to meet me. It seemed like he doesn't really have a high, like, he doesn't look favorably upon like these gifts, basically.
Seers.
Yeah. He shops at JCPenney. He doesn't shop at Sears.
I know. I thought of Sears as well. Sears. Doesn't exist anymore, does it?
I think they have like an online store, and I think that's literally it. I think there might be like a couple actual department stores left.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wild to think about that Sears, the department store, was at one time such a big company that it built the tallest building in America.
Yeah.
So crazy. And now it's the Willis Tower.
I was going to say, now it's not even called that, is it?
So then, anyway, she's like, and then the craziest thing happened in the middle of my interview. You know, it's going fine. He's asking me what my 3 strengths and 3 weaknesses are, you know, and I'm answering.
And then I didn't feel what. Then I had a little head cold come on.
Yeah.
And then I blacked out. That's the part she leaves out.
Yeah, and then Snape just waltzed right in the middle of my interview. He just showed up. And Harry's like, and she's like, because I really think, honestly, for me, it really did feel like he was like listening at the door. And I thought that was like incredibly disrespectful. Trying to get tips on how to do an interview. Like, girl.
What tips could he have been getting?
For an interview? To teach divination? Subject? What are you talking about?
Subject?
Can I ask the real question? Can we ask the real question?
What is it?
Why does Snape become a teacher?
Just so Dumbledore can keep an eye on him?
Is not explained at all in any way whatsoever.
Just so he can, you know, be at good old Hogwarts right next to Albus.
Fine, make him groundskeeper. Make him.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I know. I agree. He does not need to be a professor and be around children.
No. Anyway.
Horrible person.
Horrible.
Terrible.
So then he so Harry realizes this means that the person who was anonymous up until this point, there was an unknown person that overheard the prophecy and told Voldemort about it, which set everything into motion. This was just an unknown person. he now realizes that it was Snape. Now, I didn't go back, but I can't remember if Dumbledore just leaves out who it is, or if he says, like, we don't know who it was, or if he lies. I don't think he would have lied about it.
I think he just, like, leaves it out. Yeah, it's
withheld
not mentioned.
it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he may have just said, like, one of his Death Eaters, actually, overheard. That's not how he may have specified.
Yeah, like a servant of Lord Voldemort, overheard or something.
So Harry's like, stay here. I have to go. And she's like, but weren't we going to go to Dumbledore's office? And he was like,
I was going to tell my sob story. What do you mean?
About being thrown out of the room of requirement.
My shawls were in shambles.
Now is not your moment, Sybil. This is not your time. So he runs to Dumbledore's office. Upon entering, Dumbledore's like, well, you ready to go? And
I told you to come with me.
What? Huh? You found a Horcrux?
He's like, let's go.
He's
ready to go out the door.
Harry is incredulous. He's shocked. And then Dumbledore pretty quickly is like, what's wrong? And he's like, nothing. Nothing's wrong. I'm fine.
What do you mean? Everything's fine.
I feel great. And he's like, you were never good at occlumency. Dumbledore, would you like to know why Harry wasn't good at occlumency? Because he didn't have anyone teach him occlumency.
Yeah. Snape was not teaching anything.
Can I say another thing? You could have, in all these private sessions you've been having this year, you could have also been actually teaching him occlumency. In addition to these like trips down memory lane through the Pensieve.
5 minutes every visit. Yeah.
So Dumbledore's like, you're not very good at occlumency, so I can tell something's wrong. You can also tell something's wrong because he's a teenager and can't control his hormones.
Yeah.
So he's like, I found out that Snape was the one who overheard. And Dumbledore immediately is like, fuck. Shit. And he's like, Harry, it's not what you think.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't want to fucking hear it, bro. Harry Snape,
calling Albus bro.
Yeah. Snape is the reason my parents are dead. Harry, I understand the impulse. I do want to say the reason your parents are dead is because Voldemort killed them. So yes, I agree. Bad energy, right?
We don't like Snape either.
We don't like Snape either, but we don't want to we would still want to focus this on Voldemort. Like he's the real, so Harry's very upset. He yells at Albus. And then they have this conversation, and he is very upset. He asks again, how can Dumbledore be sure that Snape is trustworthy? And then Dumbledore responds with the infamous, I would trust Severus Snape with my life, which will come back to bite him in the ass in about 3 chapters.
Very soon.
In literally, let's count.
Let's
count the chapters.
When this happened in this chapter, basically what we're reading right now and onward, I was like, oh my God, it's happening. It's happening.
I think it's 2 chapters.
I didn't realize this chapter was right before the cave. I was like, oh, we're here. We have arrived.
We're here. Mm-hmm.
We're here.
Yeah. So the next time I'm running a chapter is when we will be discussing how this statement comes back to bite Dumbledore in the ass.
Oh my gosh. Crazy.
So, anyway, not to spoiler. Spoilers.
No spoilers.
So he says he would trust Severus Snape with his life, and then Harry's like, and so now what? You're just gonna go off tonight? You're gonna leave the castle unprotected again because you don't give a shit about the safety of the students under your tutelage? And Dumbledore's like, first of all, how dare you?
Yeah. Don't
come for first in the voting. I could not believe it. Fully is like, Don't come for my fans, bitch.
Yeah.
I want to say two things, right?
Okay.
Story-wise, there are a few different reasons. Spoiler. She has to get rid of Dumbledore. Dumbledore has to go.
Yeah, for like Harry's trajectory as a character.
Has to end. He's got to go. So I get that. There's also a level of like, for Hogwarts to be vulnerable again, he has to go. I think that's like, for me, the bigger thing, even more than like to set Harry up for success. I think it's more than like, the last book can't happen specifically with the Battle of Hogwarts if Dumbledore's like protecting Hogwarts. For the past 5 books, she's made it such a thing about being like, Dumbledore is the ultimate protector
only person
of Hogwarts.
Yeah.
She set it up in the first book. The safest place in the Wizarding world apart from Gringotts is Hogwarts.
Yeah.
So I do quibble a little bit with Dumbledore being like, I have put protections in place for these students because Doll Diva
Doll.
A little waving of like a little, you know, a magnet wand over people's belongings in the TSA line is not saving Hogwarts from what's about to happen tonight, Miss Girl. Checking people's packages is not doing what you think it's doing.
It's the whole thing of like, I don't know what the term for the argument is, but like in his mind, he's like, keep like Harry alive at all costs. And Severus Snape obviously has an important role to play. So then he's like, okay, well then you also need to stay Snape. So he's kind of like, oh, well, like I can be this, like the sacrificial lamb, basically. Yeah. He's like, I'll be the sacrificial lamb. But I'm like, that's cool that like you are okay with that. But what about like everyone else that is then going to be put in danger in the school? I don't know if he just thought like there weren't going to be as many bad things. Like, well, I don't know. I guess it's not Dumbledore's fault that Voldemort and everyone is like evil. But I'm like, there's just so many people that are going to die because Albus.
It's like a game of chess, right? You have to give like one of your stronger you have to give one of your better pieces so that you can eventually win.
But so like his argument is like, but it's to save like the wizarding race, like because otherwise Voldemort is going to kill everyone. So like there's gonna be some pawns and knights and whatever sacrificed, but like we're gonna get the queen in the end. I don't know. It just is like, this is the part where I'm like, it is hard because it's like, oh, but Dumbledore. There's like so much more that's going on right now that is like not okay.
But it is funny because it is a little bit, it's believing your own prophecy, right? Like it's a little bit like the whole thing about Dumbledore is like the prophecies aren't real, right? Like you make them real by instilling this belief in them.
Like giving them power,
But like you being like, well, I have to go so that other people can like succeed is also a little bit like, I don't know.
I like, do you know what? I think we also are getting the juxtaposition of Albus has like no fear of death and Voldemort is like terrified. But I think it's just that it's like, maybe because Dumbledore, like the whole thing with the hand, that he's kind of on borrowed time anyway. I don't know. But it just feels like I'm like, that's cool that you're okay with sacrificing yourself, but maybe there could have been a little bit more done to protect everyone else in the castle on your way out.
What frustrates me is like the level of everything is like such a secret that he still feels like, well, Harry has to figure all of this out alone.
Yeah.
That is like very annoying to me. And I'm not saying that I don't think Dumbledore has all the answers, right? They go tonight to the cave because he doesn't even know what Horcrux is going to be there.
Yeah, right.
I don't think he knows everything, but there are definitely things he takes to his grave because he's like, well, I do want Harry to kind of like figure out the riddle alone. And I'm like, Just leave him instructions. I would rather just leave him instructions, please.
Somewhere.
Don't
it's the
hope
same
to God that you're going to meet together on a dreamy version of King's Cross Station some point in the future, darling dear. Hedwig doesn't have to die for this.
It's also just going back to the whole like Draco Malfoy thing that he's just like, oh no, let him carry on. And it's like multiple people have almost died now at this point. And you're like, that's fine. We can't let this innocent child be hurt by Voldemort. So just let him kind of, go about his business. I'm like,
but it's also frustrating because like you're putting a lot of faith in the chaos of letting them into right. He doesn't know exactly how things are going to shake down. He just knows that Voldemort wants him out of the picture, which is, I mean, that's clear from 6 books ago that Voldemort would want Dumbledore out of the picture. But you're putting a lot of faith in the fact that they would just be like, and we just took care of that one item on the to-do list and no one else was harmed.
And we're out. Yeah.
That's not usually how they go about. I mean, like as evidenced by daily reports in the Daily Prophet, they're just going after random people too. Like, you can't guarantee that like, oh, well, if I go, everything's going to be fine. Cause like, I mean, obviously things aren't fine because we have the Battle of fucking Hogwarts and half the book series drops dead. So
God.
It's just, there's no winning, right? Like the ultimate win is beating Voldemort and things have to happen in the meantime. But it's hard to like, I don't know. It's not even like a criticism of the book. It's not even a criticism of the book, right? Like this isn't.
No.
It's more just a horror of realizing that nothing is like easy or like nothing is altruistic, and I don't know.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's why I'm like, when I guess it's just the bit of because I understand obviously like Dumbledore can't control what's going to happen after he passes. Like, of course, but I just am like, because of it's just like Hogwarts is like completely lost. I'm like, you were okay with that? There wasn't like some type of enchantment that like could ensure that like Minerva could have taken over, or is it that he wants Snape to be the headmaster? That's the plan, and Dumbledore knew that was the way it was going to go. Like, I'm just like, but then there's like children that are abused in this next year at the school.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I guess because that's all after his time, he's just like, all I can do is try and get Harry.
Set Harry up for success.
Yeah. But it's hard that I'm like, but because this moment where he's like, how dare you, like, or don't you try to come for me about like me protecting the school. But I'm like, okay, but like, sure, right now, but like, you actually don't protect the school.
And also like that. And also like, I've experienced now 6 years of you not protecting the school. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't want to be like, you're not great at your job, but like, darling dear, there was a basilisk. You hid a sorcerer's stone in this school for God knows what fucking reason. Like,
in a corridor, like kids could have gone down like at any time.
Right.
The Triwizard Tournament.
Yeah. The literal Triwizard Tournament alone should be evidence that you do not care about the safety of the students.
Yeah.
Annoying.
Anyway.
Okay.
It's just one thing. And maybe that's the point. Maybe that's the point that you're kind of like, because, in the next book, we do start questioning a lot about Dumbledore. Like that. And I think that's a part of it, that it's like, no one is like a perfect person, even like our heroes, the whole, like, don't meet your heroes, don't learn too much about your heroes thing. But yeah, it's just something I think about that I'm like, but could you have done more actually before?
I genuinely think for me, I think it is like, I just wish he just maybe wrote something down, like, and just like left a little pamphlet of like next 10 steps to follow in order to beat Lord Voldemort. Like, just more transparency would have been nice, instead of being like, but I have to be really secretive about Ariana.
He could have done it, Adam. He could have coded something in ancient runes because Hermione would have been able to decipher that. Okay.
And then we finally would have gotten our first example of what the fuck ancient runes is in the book series.
And then we would have known.
Ah. So anyway, so they have this conversation. They have this argument. Harry's trying not to lose his head completely because he still does want to go on this like Horcrux mission. And he's like, well, if I yell at him too much, he's probably gonna be like, go back to bed.
Not take me. Yeah. Go back to bed.
Dumbledore is like, okay, now that conversation's out of the way, just that tiny little whatever conversation, do you still want to go? And Harry's like, yes, I still want to go. So then Dumbledore makes him promise that any command that Dumbledore gives Harry, he must follow. Yeah, and so he's like, if I tell you to leave, you'll leave. If I tell you to stop, you'll stop. Like, whatever I say, you have to do it. Mm-hmm. And there's one where he's like, if I tell you that you must leave to save yourself and leave me behind, you have to do it.
Gotta do it.
And Harry's like, well, Professor. And he's like, no, it's a yes. The yes is the only answer I want to hear.
You only get a yes. No, and you're not going.
Right. It's an automatic. It's like when you take one of those like automatic like employment exams before you could even like have an interview. And it's like, oh, you answered one of the important questions wrong. So there's no way.
Can't move on.
So Harry's like, okay. So he agrees. So he's like, okay, meet me in the entrance hall in 5 minutes. Go get your invisibility cloak. Harry rushes back to the common room. He grabs his invisibility cloak. He also grabs his Marauder's map and a pair of socks. He finds Ron and Hermione in the common room. And he's like, here's what's happening. Okay, here's what's going on. I don't even know if he actually tells them about Snape was the one who overheard the prophecy. I think he's like, I'm leaving on a mission. I'm going. Okay? I might not come back. Kiss Ginny goodbye for me.
Yeah.
He gives the Marauder's map to Hermione, and he's like, I need you to just watch her, Draco and Snape, because I think they're in cahoots, and I think they're going to do something tonight while Dumbledore's gone. I don't care if you disagree. I just want you to watch to see what happens. And she was like,
he's like, I don't have time to discuss it. He's like, just do it.
I'm not having an argument. These are your orders. And she's like, okay. And then he hands the socks to Ron. And he's like, and Ron's like, what the fuck am I going to do with socks?
He thanks him. And he's like, oh, thanks. What?
And he's like, in the socks is the rest of the Felix Felicis. So I want you and Hermione and Ginny all to have a little swallow so that you're all have the most advantage for whatever happens. All
protected
tonight.
By Felix. By Stray Kids Felix himself. Pops out of that little bottle.
And then he's like, and I'm going to go tell Ginny goodbye.
Tell Ginny goodbye for me.
And then he leaves. He gets down to the entrance hall. He puts on his cloak. They leave. Dumbledore is like, oh, I just pretend like I'm going. When I have to leave, I just pretend like I'm going to Hogsmeade for a drink. And then I just leave from Hogsmeade. So they walk to Hogsmeade. There is a kerfuffle over at the Three Broomsticks. Someone's getting thrown out of the Three Broomsticks by Madame Rosmerta, who doesn't take shit from anybody. To be clear.
No.
You know what? I don't want the Marauders story. I don't want the sequel. I want the whole series told from Madame Rosmerta's perspective.
Yeah. Give me her origin story.
Because it's just her overhearing stuff at the bar and being like, what the fuck is happening at Hogwarts?
Constantly, yeah.
There are students being petrified?
She knows everything, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, sorry, Rosmerta. I'm actually going to head to the Hogshead Inn tonight. I'm feeling a little bit of a quieter atmosphere than what's going on here. And she's
right there at the moment.
Okay, I didn't okay. Have a good night.
See ya.
Also funny, again, it's always funny to me that everyone in town knows who runs the Hogshead Inn. So that I would be like,
right?
Well, yeah, go see your brother.
Yeah, hello?
Of course.
Do they know that they're related? Or is it like not something
I just feel like there's no way in a town that small that you don't know everyone's first and last name.
Yeah. And also they look alike. So
yeah, that's true too. So he's like, oh, off to the Hogshead. And she's like, okay, peace. Have a good night. They go around. They don't go into the Hogshead. They go around the building. He's like, no one's seeing us. Grab my arm. We're going to apparate. So then they apparate and they end up in a place met with salty sea air. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, I can smell it. I can smell it already.
Scourge.
That's
it. That's the chapter.
Beautiful. Amazing. Well done.
A masterpiece in storytelling.
What'd you say?
I said we're careening towards the end.
We are. I really was so surprised. I was like, I did not know that was what was going to happen in this chapter. I didn't realize that the Seer being overheard happened at the same time that we get the we're leaving for the Horcrux moment.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that wraps up this chapter. Next week, we'll be reading chapter 26, The Cave.
Da, da, da.
We have several comments.
Yes.
Liked by Becky B said, I would totally watch slash listen to an Anxious Millennials Twilight podcast. Tori Love said, get well, R. I have to admit, I thought it was the other funeral for a few seconds before realizing it was this one. Yes, the one in the book. Tabby Matha also said, I know we talked about HP fanfic next, but please do Twilight. Ashley Dillon said, we are absolutely going to need a Boys Love Twilight / Ampliverse Halloween special. God, don't know. And then Ashley also said, Edward catches the apple and the fans are called Twihards, which I hate. Twigs is much funnier. Yeah, Twihards is so bizarre. Twihards?
Well, it's also weird because it's from tryhards. And tryhard is like a pejorative. Like you don't want to be a tryhard. So it's weird. It's weird. But yeah. I am currently in a fandom called Zeros. So, you know.
Zero. Oh, is it Zeros? That's how they say it. I always said Zeros. Okay. Zeros. Wow. Well, I think we have put our foot in it, and now everyone's demanding we do Twilight, which it would basically be the opposite, but even worse of like what we're doing now, but even worse because I've never read the Twilight books. So I would be I've
only read them once.
Yeah. So I'd be like, what is going on? And my only point of reference is like the films. So any deviation from the films, I would be like, whoa, all right. Like I should be trippy. Thank you for making it known that you guys want us to do Twilight. I don't know if I can guarantee that. Sorry, guys. Maybe we can do like a bonus episode where we do something with Twilight if y'all really want it. I love that. I love anything you guys are excited about though. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. We love hearing what you guys think. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts, as well as video versions on the Ampliverse YouTube channel and Spotify. As always, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so that we can get a perfect Newt score. 5 stars only, or else you'll have to stash your sherry bottles somewhere, or like you'll be like your shawls will be. You'll be sprawled out in a hallway covered in shawls.
Shawls and bottles.
Drunk. Yeah. Shawls and bottles. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HP Anxious or YouTube and TikTok at The Ampliverse. We are hosted on Spotify for podcasters, so thank you to them. And are a proud member of The Ampliverse. Check them out at theampliverse.com. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Ariana.
And as always...
Woo whoop! Woo woo! Woo whoop! Woo whoop!
Knox.